friends, it's Wendy with H2O Bungalow. I'm really excited about today's project. I'm here at the beach house and today I am building a fireplace. I am so excited. So, things I'm going to cover today are how to build a basic frame that you can trim out in any style and fit to any type, size fireplace insert. I'm going to be using an electric insert. It's Florida faux fireplace, guys. I'm going to show you about how to build the base, and I'm going to tell you things that I've learned on this project. In other words, what I would do differently. Okay, so the fireplace insert that I'm using is about 30 inches by 24 on the opening, and I will give you links to that product and more tips and the dimensions and plans to my frame on my blog post at h2obungalow.com. Search fireplace, and of course while you're there, don't forget to subscribe. So back to this fireplace. I had a plug installed on the wall, as you can see. That's going to be in the frame of my fireplace, so that way I don't have any cords on the outside. And the frame that I built was a basic frame. This is the frame that I built. It's going to be about 54, 56 inches tall when it's done. A couple of pointers for someone who's doing this, or if I were to do it again. I would build the face of my frame first, and I would build it on a flat surface facing down to get the absolute straightest placement possible for your plywood to sit on. I have a really tiny workspace and I had to build it standing up, so that was kind of a challenge. But another thing that I always do is I mark and my boards as I'm cutting them. So you'll see the numbers all over 53, 51 and a half, these are 48. I mark everything because sometimes I get goofy, sometimes I get tired when I'm building, and I don't want to grab or miscut something. Another thing I always do is as I'm building and I'm laying it out, I mark where I'm going to put my Craig pocket holes, and I just take a Sharpie and zip those lines right there. So I don't really have to think a whole lot as I'm building something with so many pieces. Once you've built your frame and your base, you'll cover your base first before attaching the frame to the base for stability, and last you'll attach it to the wall at the studs. The next thing you'll do is attach the plywood to the frame of your fireplace, keeping in mind where the seams will go that will be under your trim. You need the front of your fireplace to be even on both sides of the opening. This is where I had an issue with building my frame standing up. My solution was to shim one side slightly, which lined up the two fronts perfectly so you couldn't see it from the outside once the trim was on and the fireplace was finished. A simple trick for fitting the top of the fireplace mantle is to lay your board up and take a pencil and run it along the edge and trim to your edge. That way, if you're off on your square just a little bit, your top will fit fine. Next, I used wood filler to fill in all of the nail head holes and seams along the front and sides of my fireplace on any area that would not be covered by trim. Give your plywood a light sanding all over, paying extra attention to any type of seams or areas where there are joints and wood meets. Be sure to vacuum it well and then give it a nice wipe down before applying any type of paint or primer. I always prime everything with a light gray primer that was tinted at the paint store because it gives you a better coverage and finish for your top coat, especially when you're painting in white. I decided to give my fireplace a full coat of paint before adding the trim because I was using Finished Elegance by Wood Grain, which is pre-finished trim, and I would only need to use one top coat to match my paint color, and it was the easiest and quickest way to apply the finish on my fireplace. Okay, so refer to my blog post for an actual step-by-step directions of how I layered my fireplace trim to make this craftsman style fireplace. I used Finished Elegance, which is by Wood Grain, for my trim, and it's what I used for my craftsman style window trim earlier this year that I loved so much. This fireplace will match it and complement it beautifully in my living room. And again, this trim is quite simple. There are no special cuts or double angles. It's simply square flat cuts to achieve a beautiful craftsman style or even modern style fireplace. Okay, so one more thing I'd like to point out is that that final piece of trim that I'm applying in the video is covering up this seam in the plywood. And that's where the fireplace insert will slide in and plug in. It won't be attached, it simply rests in the fireplace surround and it looks great. The last step is to caulk all of your seams and trim edges, allow them to dry, and follow up with one final coat of your white paint and your fireplace is finished. Hi friends, thank you so much for joining me today where I shared with you how I made my DIY faux fireplace surround with an electric insert. I love the project. I'm super excited that I finally got it done. And if you'd like more tips and if you'd like more details on the things I did share about what I would do differently, heads up to this or don't do it this way, you can do it better, learn from my mistakes, but you can find them all in my blog post at h2obungalow.com. Search fireplace. And while you're there, of course, don't forget to subscribe and subscribe to my YouTube channel at H2O Bungalow. Thank you, and we'll see you soon.